Okay, here we go. We're all juiced up and ready to rock. Woo, woo, woo. Hey, hey, hey. That's my level of excitement. Okay, hiya. How are yous? Welcome to the show. So, the new page is up. Yeah. Let me get my big goofy ball mug out of here, and let's walk through it. So, hi everybody. I hope you had a good day. Thanks for anybody tuning in today. We're gonna have some fun. Yesterday's one-page comic was suggested by Dee Dee Willingham. It's up at the top of the page. It says, a typo that changed the course of history. Very exciting. So, this is what we came up with. And I'm quite pleased with that. It was a fun page to sort of plot out moment by moment. And, I did Day-Glow dots in this sucker, and I played around with them a little bit in their different sizes and layers, and so not too intensely though. I mean, there's a lot more I could have done with it. Some proper shading in the Zipatone or Day-Glow dots, whatever you want to call it, and then I mixed in. So the pages that I did this on, uno momento si vous plaît. The pages that I did this on, I drew the typewriter, and at one point I considered putting a skull in at the end for Il Morte. But then for some reason I wanted to draw the moon from one of the earliest motion pictures ever made. And it was just so much fun. And then my wife pointed out an inside joke that I didn't even realize was applicable for the story of the page. See if you could find it. So so this is a lot of fun. So this is a white, what are you called? Jelly roll pen. I never believed that's actually the name. White jelly roll pen, as well as a Kodenafuki pen to clean up my lines, and then a white pencil crayon for, well, all of this. So, and then the rest of the panels I drew on a standard piece of 11. This actually is 11 by 17. Yesterday I kept saying everything was, which wasn't. But I pulled out a piece of homemade comic pages. I printed out a whole bunch of these comic pages that I made for myself. And, it's cheaper than buying them. And at the rate that I draw, and I was working on some projects, I'm not buying that many. And you couldn't order them. After the lockdown, the COVID stuff, they were really impossible to get a hold of. So, I made my own. So this is the bit-by-bit moments of the page. They're not in a proper sequence for when the page was finished. This actually goes down here, just before the explosions. This actually goes in front of the so you could switch these two panels, I guess. And then I duplicated this image here a number of times and behind him for saying, what does this mean? Oh, my guys are going to get killed. I tried to find an interesting way of saying something dark. So the only pieces of writing are on here and on the sheet of paper in the explosion. So that's the typo. There was a big discrepancy last night about whether a typo was a word spelled wrong or a like with a missing letter, like a letter was substituted, or if it was an entire word that was wrong. And so we settled on a whole word. So, and I put in the reasoning behind the word in panel 3. Why does a word get switched out? Because it's I'm going to call it some cheeky humor. That one's for the kids. All right, so the day before our page was the intergalactic Mars page. So Oopsie Daisy. Oopsie Daisy is a song from the 1930s, 20s, 30s. And it's all about a heartbreaking event that is very destructive. So I wanted to call it Oops, and then I thought, maybe Oopsie Daisy. And then I looked it up, and the lyrics actually kind of work a little bit for the page. So maybe play the song along when you read the page. Maybe. Yesterday was a big day for me in a kind of a different kind of way. We had a productive day, but at the same time, I had a real churner going on in the old noggin after our conversation that was on yesterday's stream. I really appreciate all of the support and encouragement from people that were trying to encourage me to figure out a little bit more of making my stuff more accessible for people to pick up. And it's something I'm going to be working on. Definitely, for sure. I've got some ideas because, I don't know, maybe I can do like a silent auction via e-transfer or something of the like. Okay, so I'm putting down today's one-page suggestion. If there's things that you've seen that I've done that you want to get a look at the original, or you want to, or pages that you see that you're interested in picking up, yeah, I'm all right with that. Frank, if I've spelled your name wrong today, many apologies. Just going to move this, just setting this up for today. All right, and I'll put that on the screen so you can see what I'm going to be working on. Sorry, I'm over here typing at the computer. I'll put some of that information up here in a second. There's one, here's the other. So that's yesterday's page, which I'm updating as we speak, as we're speaking right here in the place. Anyways, I really appreciate everything yesterday. It was really eye-opening for me that maybe there's more effective ways that I could make myself more accessible for people that might have some interest in what I'm doing. Because in all honesty, I'm so caught up in the mix of making that I tend to forget about, hey, what's next? So we're in a good spot. Okay, last chance for romance. Okay, so that's the last look at yesterday's page, and we're on to today's. Thank you very much, Dee Dee, for that suggestion. That was a fantastically fun one for me to do. I haven't done a lot of straight-on black and white line art of late, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to do that. It was good fun to keep that machine oiled up for moving. To keep that poker hot in the fire. Keep my skills up on just doing straightforward black and white line art. All right, today's suggestion is Dragon rethinking his life choices, and this comes from Frank the Tank Salazar. The man, the myth, the magic. Okay, so that's fun. I'm kind of interested. So this is my exciting news. This is the rest of my exciting news. Here, I'm going to... Okay, that's the originals one more time for anybody that just joined late. There you go. They get thrown in the pile. I got to get sounds, like sound effects. They're like when I throw it in the pile and it, like it hit glass, That's like Griselda, the Good Witch, if anybody knows what that's from. She's like, a little bit of that for the soup. Woo! And then she'd throw whatever the ingredient, like but it was a sound effect. So that's going to leave a mark, anyhow. Okay, so I have managed to find all these pencils at this point. Who we got? Jay Leonard. Hey, how you doing? Welcome aboard. Thanks for coming out. Oh, yeah, I forgot to post this. I'm so sorry. Here is if you have a one-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it here in the chat or in the comment section below the video in the live section of my YouTube channel. That sentence could be more complicated. We'll work on that. All right, so I managed to find a 72 pencil set of pencil crayons here, but having to buy them in 4 parts and find them at 3 different stores. So it's kind of interesting and neat that I was able to put together this whole set of colored pencils that I get to use. And they're the fun ones that have that triangular shape to them. And I always find that pencil sets that are triangular shaped are always really, really soft. So today's suggestion being, hey, let's draw a dragon. A dragon rethinking his life choices. So I'm going to try something out. This is parchment paper. And so my thinking is, if I scan parchment, if I do a drawing on parchment paper and I scan it over top a textured surface like that, how's that going to show up? Hey, Kat's here. Hi, Kat. Saw you over at Dee Dee's channel. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. That's Dee Dee is fantabuloso. She really is. I like her a lot. Are these oil pencils or wax? I don't think they're oil. I got them at a dollar store. Yep. I have no idea. I'm sorry. When it comes to, and I know that this is a hot button topic for a lot of people, when it comes to materials and medium. Hi, Kat. Cats make cats. That's awesome. Are they oil pencils or wax? Yeah, when it comes to materials, I am not very good at the specificity of things. I know what works with what works, and that's only from 30 years of smushing things together. But I tend not to look that deep down the rabbit hole, I guess. Whatever materials that I sort of find, I go with, and that includes, I'll pick up stuff at the dollar store. I'll pick up stuff at, chain stores or like Giant Tigers. I don't know if anybody has Giant Tigers where they are. I'll buy stuff at Shoppers Drug Mart. I don't care. I'm a big proponent of the tools serve you. You don't serve your tools. As fantastic as it is to have really expensive materials, I grew up in poverty, so I tend not to be able to accommodate those. But I tend to be that person that figures out how to cobble and hobnob things together and make use of them. And I do all kinds of impractical things as well, like a lot of mixed media and a lot of putting tape on my pages and different papers, and I'll adhere pages, some paper to another paper, just to have that modulation of the surface itself. So when I'm drawing over top of it, it yields a different result. But as far as it goes for any mark making tools, there's no real part of me that says you have to. There's a lot of purists out there that say you have to have the best tools for the job. You have to use them in the traditional or established ways of using them. And, I'm not that guy. I'm probably the opposite of it. I do things like having all kinds of random paper beside my desk, tissue paper, little cuts and scraps of paper. This is all Letra set, which is all these crazy sheets of just overlay plastics and textures. And I've been stocking this stuff over 30 years, I've got watercolors, I've got inks, I've got acrylics. I will use whatever crosses my noggin in the moment. So I'm not very good at practical questions like, is it wax or oil? I'm allergic to oil paint, and I bought it at a dollar store, so the likelihood of it being oil is pretty much zipper. Philip Chandler, hi. Came in when you started, but I've been trying to draw it while listening. Philip, you're doing a lot of drawing these days, and I like it. I'm really happy about that. What do we got? I'm from Dee Dee's channel too. Hey, all right. Yeah, I really appreciated engaging with people on Dee Dee's channel. I wasn't getting notifications for Dee Dee's live streams. And so when one came on my thing, I'm like, yes. So I turned it on and met all these fantastic people. So thank you, YouTube powers. I just use what I got mostly. Yeah, exactly. It's not the tool, it's the person using it, right? It's you're going to develop skills using whatever you've got, because you've had to take that tool and turn it into something. It's a John Lennon quote. I don't know much about the world, but you give me a tuba and I'll give you something from it. I love that sort of thing. I'm actually working and lurking, so keep talking. Oh, okay. Don't worry, I never stop talking. But yeah, I'm glad. I love when people are just listening along as they're working. So whenever I find something interesting, thrift stores mostly, I pick them up. Yeah, I'm the same way. Exactly the same way. I found a 4th pencil set for this this complete set of 72 pencils from popping in at different thrift stores going, woohoo! I bet Banksy doesn't think that way. All he needs is a wall and a pen. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never met him. I think that there's a Banksy is from that world. Banksy is from that that art environment that is very insular. It's very much who knows who. And so Banksy using traditional spray medias and acrylic paints or oil sticks or whatever it is that he's using when he's doing these installation pieces is very guerrilla in its aesthetic, yes, but at the same time, it has to be materials that he knows for a fact are going to maintain their integrity over prolonged periods of time and weather. So he's using some degree of quality stuff in what he's executing. Hi ho. How you doing, Raul Reynolds? If I said it wrong, I apologize. I had a friend named Raul, and he spelled his name the same as yours. May well be wrong, and if it isn't, I apologize. Banksy is a famous artist here in England. Yes, indeed he is. Yes, indeed he is. There's all kinds of guys that do stuff like that. I've got a number of books on different graffiti artists and taggers, so some really prominent ones in France as well. I said it good. Thank you. I'm learning to speak them better. So, yeah, there's some graffiti artists in Canada as well. It's a new form. It's a new form of media. A lot of people decry it because it's, when it comes to tagging and it's just tagging text, I think that while there's some artistry in the execution of that, I think they need to do something with it, right? I think that we need to have something to say with it, or I think that we need to push it farther. And once you start into that vibe, you're just going to fly, right? Not that I'm saying you have to have representative images of stuff, but I really like when people start from that. When I say tagging, I mean just that one can of paint, and they put their initials up or whatever, or Bob, and then once they take that to the next stage, that's where it really starts to come to life and really start to, it's that step out of the intermediate, right? Well, there we go. Well, I do graffiti calligraphy, so you know what I'm talking about. Got to step that up. Hey, Gary, welcome aboard. Are you in Canada, Chris? I think I recognize the cadence. I'm in Saskatoon. Oh, yeah, I'm from Ontario there, eh? Yeah. Ontario, Canada. London, Ontario, Canada is where I'm at. The other London. Anyway, there's London, Ontario's, and so forth all over the world. Like tomorrow I have to go to Paris. I'm driving from London to Paris, which is about 45 minutes away, because London, Ontario, and Paris, Ontario, to go and play hockey, stereotypically, with my brother-in-law. So, exciting times. All right, so I got the Spencer Crayon set. Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad you checked in. I can sign off on that for you, buddy. Jim Luan, here's part of my state-mandated parole check-in. Jane, born in Toronto. You're born in Toronto there, eh? The big smoke, huh? Hogtown. So, yeah, Canada is roughly the population of California, but the second largest country in the world. So, lots and lots of stuff. I do calligraphy. I do graffiti calligraphy only on paper, kawaii drawings based on pop culture. Excellent stuff. Yeah, you can really push some values. How big are you working? What's your scope, Raul? Like when I say scope, like scale. What's your scale? Raul says, I'm in Paris to the day after my birthday, V-Day. Now, which Paris? You're in that Paris? Or you're in Paris, Ontario? Because that'd be crazy. Raul says, hi, Philip. Jane, the center of the universe. That's right, Jane. What do we got? Philip says, lots of new faces. Raul says, most of us come from Dee Dee Williams' live stream. I'm an amateur. Hey, me too. I think we're all amateurs. I think that the moment that I'm a professional artist, come on. Anyhow, So Frank Salazar, who hasn't come in and said something salacious yet, is his suggestion. So the way that this works for anybody that might be new today is I've got an open call for anybody that has, what I've been doing a lot of is I do a book or I do a comic a day. And what I mean by that is I love telling stories. And so, no, you're not. Your art is amazing. Oh, well, geez, thanks, Raul. I'm going to put that up there for my ego. No, I appreciate that, but we're all on the journey together is what I'm saying. Everybody's amateur in their own way. So every day I do a single page comic, and I'm going to switch over my cameras for a second. So what I mean by a single page comic is somebody gives me a suggestion. Yesterday it was Dee Dee's, a typo that changes a course of history. And so what I came up with was this little bit of fun where a commander dictates his order to his aide. His aide goes to type that order officially to get sent out and makes a typo because he's distracted. And that typo costs lives. Anyhow. And then there's a joke in there that I didn't realize I was doing. I just thought it would be fun to put the moon in at the end. And then my wife said contextually, that's funny too. So, and the day before I was working. So this is black and white line art with Zipatone down on it. And then the typewriter and the moon, the piece from an old French film. This is white pencil crayon and white Jelly Roll pen on black heavy grade cardstock. So I scan these things into the computer, and then I modify them to fit the panels and put it together and put the text over top of it. The day before was a number of mixed media things, and I work on different surfaces. So when you see the discoloration in the background, that may well be Post-its I've put into the paper. It's other pieces of paper that are that's modifying the original page itself. There's masking tapes, electrical tapes I'll put in there sometimes. I'm different. So and I've got since the start of January, I have done this many. So different ones every day. If you run through my Instagram and my Facebook, you'll see some of the different stuff that we get up to. All right. Yeah. So when anybody suggests me something like a one-page idea, the whole thing is that we go for it. We go for it whatever way I feel like doing it at the moment. Let's get some of this love up for Dee Dee. Jane says, I'm a mixed media collage artist using old magazine images and paint to create images. Excellent. I love that. And when you've got that, and when you've got that rhythm to that, and you've got all these, the elements and the principles of composition, when you got those things all ingrained in you over time from practice and deliberation, when you start to put those things together and you realize that the differences of scaling by images, and you realize that you can have contextual narratives despite the differences of the magazines that you're sourcing from, you could truly do some fantastic stuff. I find that people that work collage over time, they cannot help themselves but get more and more and more creative and making more and more statements over time. And you'll start doing things that people wouldn't consider, like laying tissue paper down, different colors of tissue paper to change the background scene's color value from, and then put foreground collage characters over it. Collage is fun. Yeah. Okay. So I'll get cracking. So Frank Salazar, everybody knows Frank, is who suggested this page. Oh yeah, one more thing before I get to it. Saint Deed, as I call her, she's good people. Indeedly do, Jim. Yes, indeed. Deed is multi-talented. Love her. You should. Everyone should. Dee Dee's very inspiring. There's lots of love for Dee Dee. We need to give more and more love for Dee Dee because Dee Dee is something else. She's a grace. She's a grace. Jane says, yeah, she does lots of layers. Excellent. Excellent stuff. Okay, so what I first wanted to just give it a try. This is parchment paper. Now, being large and simple, my wife has informed me that I'll stop having to clean all of the cookie sheets all the time, every time that I'm cooking dinner for us, if I lay down parchment paper. And it works, So far less scrubbing. But then, now that Chris has discovered parchment paper, oh no. So now I'm out of control with the parchment paper. So I thought I would, just for a second here, just for guys, I want to test out parchment paper a little bit for a second and see, what I can do with this, what it can give me. And so, yeah, I just want to try to draw it for a second. So see if it works at all with the pencil. I'll move this. So anyways, my idea is to scan this like so. And with my scanner, I think it'll pick up this this beautiful manganese grass paper. This is paper actually made out of grass. So you can see all the pieces of grass in there and the big honking, big stiff parts of it, nicely hot pressed and flat and smooth. Love this texture, love to work on it. But if I do my drawing over top of it, and then when I scan it, that texture should come through. Maybe. So I was just wondering how doable it is to draw on this jazz, and it looks like it's doable. But it wipes off really, really easy. So I think I'll explore this a little bit more. Jane says that they have one roll in the kitchen and one roll in their art room. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Okay, so the idea is, what is it? The Dragon Rethinking His Life Choices from Frank. Excellent. Excellent stuff. I hope Frank stops in today. 16 sharpeners because I can never figure out which one's working. I got a couple dull ones. Do I throw them out? No. Why? Because I'm complicated. I'm going to pick a weird tone to draw with. Just for guys. Okay. And then I got to sharpen this guy. Oh, I didn't think that through. So these pencils are triangular shaped. Now, my hands never stop moving, but when I lay them down, right? So because I have some ginky hands, I tend to like things that are rather unconventional, and I can hold these really well because of that triangular shape to it. Okay, here's your check. Come on. There you go. Sorry, I have a studio cat. His name is Corbin, and he's insolent. What do we got? Excellent. Excellent. Love it. Excellent. I love to hear stuff like that. I use it to protect layers of paper sticking together, and you can paint on it. I have a pile, and I have drawers. And I put my papers in there. Maybe I should be using parchment paper. How much money? Good start. How much money would it take for you to go solely digital for 1 year? We'll get working on that. Oh, I don't know. I could make a transition to digital for part of my day, but could I do it absolutely? No. Thank you. Yeah, you should. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so I don't know. I haven't thought about if going solely digital is a thing for me. That's too late. You can't see it. Sharpen another pencil. I wish they came with a triangular pencil sharpener. I'd buy that for $1. All right, so yeah, so I tend not to draw by structure. I'm a little backwards, I recognize, and there's probably some part of me that could benefit from a little more structure in what I'm doing. And when I'm talking about structure, I'm talking about a framework for the image. But I got to roll up the old sleeves here. Now we're getting serious. Now we're down to business. Corbin, don't hit that. You need your moment? Okay. Sorry, I got to do this. There he is. Hey, everybody, I'm annoying. Yeah. There you are. Are you sated? He really is lying down now. Oh my God. I need my moment in the camera, Father. Okay, so I don't tend to lay down structure. I tend to tractor, what I call tractoring through an image. Because in my head, I'm not looking at things from a linear perspective. I tend to look at my drawings from the idea of form, so that when I'm putting stuff in, I'm thinking of it as shapes, and I'm thinking of it as volumes. So, yeah, he is a cat. Yeah, of course, Jane. So I tend to be less concerned about the proper lines and the proper laying out of stuff, and just going for it and building it up as I go. I'll build up and I'll take away too. And what I mean by that is that I'll put down some marks, I'll put down some lines, apply them to a surface, and then go over that with a white, or I'll put a seal coat on something, and some sealant, some spray sealant or some liquid sealant. And then I'll go over top of that with a value, whether it's a red wash or a white wash or something like that. And then I'll take some of that away, whether it's taking a palette knife like this and scraping off those excesses and just leaving some of that white in certain places, or I'll do a whole section of a drawing and then I'll go in with the white and take it out. Stuck. Okay. Last night I was sketching. So we're watching a TV show, and so I was doing that last night, where I'm doing a drawing and I'm just pencil and pen and throwing that down, and then I come in with this white acrylic paint pen, and I'll take out some of the surface, or I'll go over top of the drawing with the white pen for those things. So I'm a big proponent of that. So if it looks a little contrarian how it's going, bear with me. We'll get through it together. So my idea here is that when I'm looking at dragons, I know that there's all kinds of different ideas of how people interpret them. And I do that, yes. That's a good question. Let me put it up. You're kind of reframing your drawing as you move along? Yes and no. Half my drawings are just straightforward panel to panel to panel to panel to panel. I think that's I try to start that way and stay with it. I think I'm going to try to keep that for this one. But I have found great benefit in not only things like being able to have equally sized frames, equally sized edges on the panels themselves. If I manipulate them a little bit, like there's some cutting out and things like that I can clean up my pages that way. But there's also all kinds of little effects, like the zipatone I put in the page yesterday. That's from scanning it and then putting the zipatone layer underneath the lines. And you got to erase the white out of your drawing in order to do that. But so there's all kinds of different things that you can do with Photoshop after the fact. Now, mind you, a lot of things like this. So if I do this image at this size, in context to the larger part of the page, I wouldn't have been able to define some of the aspects of a typewriter in this panel if I'd drawn it at the same scale as these ones, without it being a lot of little bit noodly bitting, So that's a benefit of some of this digital stuff that we can step over into. And what? So I'll do both. I'm not too overly specific about it. I've got no hard, fast rule. But thank you for asking. That's very interesting, like technical stuff too. Your real job is in AutoCAD. Oh my, AutoCAD. I have no idea how to do that. I've heard of it. I'm aware of it, but I've never used AutoCAD. I have only been using Photoshop for about a year, so I'm really learning as I'm going. So that's fun, though. It's a lot of fun that way. So I'm thinking around the structure of the eyes, trying to get that down. It's a drafting software. Oh, I think when I was in high school, which was a while ago, yeah, okay. I think I used a really old version of that in 1986. So I think that might have been what we were using. All right, so yeah. I have my whole shtick is to work fast, because for a long time for me, time was a really limited thing. And so I'd have to work after people are asleep. And so I try to draw fast. So when I draw a face, what's the first feature I start with? I tend to, Philip says he uses AutoCAD. AutoCAD used to own Sketchbook Pro, which he still uses. Oh. You technically still own it too. Well, the program. When I start drawing anything, specifically a person, I'll tend to start with the head, the eyes, the expression. Largely, I want to try to get a hold of that as I'm going, because there's so much to be said in our shapes, in our eyes. There's so much extra meaning that comes through there if we can capture it right. But at the same time, there's some fun things that we can do with the shape of a head, or there's some different things that we can do about anatomy and anatomy forms, right? But I think an awful lot of character is dictated through specifically the shape of the eye, and the turn of it, so that you see if there's thinking, if there's malice, if there's whatever it is. Entire time I've been doing this stream, my cat has been smacking me in the arm and purring like a freight train. Like, there are certain things that we do when we're drawing that we anthropomorphize things. And what I mean by that is, because we're human beings, we tend to humanize whatever it is, whatever animals or things that we might draw as well. And so you'll see that come through in a lot of instances when you've got I can put the colors up if people want to see. I'll put the pencils in front of you here, in case that helps anybody that might be interested in that. Yeah, it really doesn't. It doesn't say anything on the pencil. I'm sorry for that. This one is 57. So, yeah, there's just so much that we can get out of eyes and how that works together. I tend to come at a drawing really soft as well, and get more and more complex as I go through it with harder lines or harder values. And I tend to try to stay away from those really dark hits until it's the right time. Just because I want to find. I'm sorry, I'm grabbing different colors. Just because I want to find. I want to find that information as I go. So this is a really light blue that I'm throwing in here. Now, ideally, everybody remembers their color wheels. The complementary color to an orange is a purple. And so when you start putting your purple in, it tends to give different form and different shape and different volume. So oftentimes I'll go one step to the left, and I'll get into, rather than the purple, I'll get into the blue or the red as much as I do the purple itself. So, but I'll throw some of that in for you. See, you can see how the shape changes, and it really does a lot for defining those eyes a little bit better and those volumes. But back to this. I'm just having fun. So my intention with this page, now I usually do this, where I'll take a piece of paper out and I'll break down my idea. My idea here is, here's our dragon, and I'm going to have a young lady sitting beside him. And they're looking out over the top of a rooftop, let's say. And this is when the dialogue starts. I've been thinking of, I'm rethinking some of my life choices here. And then of course the lady says, well, why? What do you mean? And then he's going to reflect on some of his behaviors in the past. It's about taking one idea out of a suggestion, whatever the first notion that hits you, go with that. Like yesterday's notion of, or 2 days ago, I guess the notion was intergalactic coffee shop on Mars. And so I just happened to tell that story from the perspective of the first person that's living on Mars, that one of their first orders of business is set up a coffee shop for when other people get there. Because they're also an entrepreneur. They're not just just a regular old astronaut. So these are fairly waxy, these pencils. And sometimes with that waxiness, they pull back a little bit from allowing you to do too much layering in them. So we're going to play a little bit. It's a flat head, sharp point. It's a flat head point when you get these pencils. So as soon as you start trying to put marks down, it turns into a whole thing of, well, where the hell's the edge of the pencil? So that's why you see me stopping to sharpen every pencil as soon as I start using it. So I'm coming in with this green to start to define some of the shapes, some of the scaling in the eyes, and in the face of the giant tyrant lizard king. Even though he's just a big old chicken. That's what Tyrannosaurus Rex means, by the way. Tyrant lizard king. In the 1980s, in the city that I live in, there was a high school band named Tyrant Lizard Kings, and I always thought that was interesting to me. Jane says a person's soul is in their eyes. Eyes tell a story. So anybody that's joined us, if you consider the idea of a one-page, feel free to take a look at what I've been doing before. Before today, if you're looking for some clarity on what that might mean. But yeah, I try to stay away from drawing. Like, I won't draw corporate characters. So if you say, "Oh, Batman," I'm not drawing it, right? Even if it's 1010 or because I'm a big fan of a lot of European books as opposed to North American. But even if you say ones I like, I'm not going to do it. And the reason for that is that I'm 26 pages in, 26 pages since the start of January on this project alone. And so the idea is that as soon as I hit 50, I'm going to figure out something to do with them. Whether that's submitting them to a publisher, seeing if somebody wants to do with it, or printing them myself. The last year's book, one-page extravaganza, volume 1, it's the same thing. It's a lot of mixed different methods that I use for different pages. And so we collected 50. It's a 52-page book here. And, a couple of different repeated comics like Sam the Private Eye, or the Frankenstein Monster Goes to Kindergarten, or does his driving test. It's a werewolf with male pattern baldness. Just silly different ideas and different approaches to comic telling. But volume 2, I really feel like I've kind of hit my stride here. So I'm looking forward to gathering all these together. But I've done 170 something since the start of COVID. So I've got lots to choose from. I'm good at making. I'm bad at marketing. I'm good at making. I'm bad at doing. I put things in drawers. I'm ridiculous, but it's an idea that because it's a cool idea. Oh, hey, cool idea. It's an idea that I had at the start of COVID because I used to manage a bookstore, and there was a fair amount of my customers that their only real social outlet was to come to the bookstore. And so when Canada had to adhere to these lockdown rulings from the government, unfortunately, that puts some people into a sort of mental crisis or a mental health crisis because they have very little external engagement with others. And so I thought, well, how can I help with that? Because they're losing their avenue, their way and means of getting out and talking to others. So what can I do to try to help them get some equilibrium back? And so my idea was, hey, anybody that anybody from the store, if you follow me on Instagram, if you suggest a one-page comic, let's do it. And a lot of people started jumping in on that, and once things got back on track, they were all. So I got thank yous from a couple of them that said, "Man, that helped me out. It worked." So little things we can do for each other with our art. So as I'm moving through the scary giant tyrant lizard king, I'm just throwing down some different values and giving some different form to the face, to the structure of the beast's head. It's a different way of working for sure, but when how I draw, I've seen other people that just, oh, here, this color, this color, this color. It's like, oh, that's lovely. You did that so simplistically and yet executed those values perfectly. And here I do this whole working up thing. So everything in its own time, right? I'm going to put some gesso down on that parchment paper and see what that gives me. Sorry, I'm still thinking about how to be able to draw on parchment paper with wax-based materials. I like when drawing faces to look for the shapes, the tonal shapes in a face. I'll show you what I mean. Let me see if I can. Yeah, just take your spot. No. Just give me a hard time, this guy. Okay, so here's a couple examples. This is what I'm trying to pull up. All right, there's one. Okay, so this is another. What's the best and worst thing about running a comic shop? It's no different than anywhere else. It's the challenges of working with people, and at the same time, it's the joys and benefits of being able to work with people every day. And but it's very similar to being a bartender. Is that you? You're not in camera. It's the joys and benefits of being able to engage with others and realizing that they may be a little challenging because this might be the only way they engage with others. But at the same time, trying to help people find the cool things they're looking for, and at the same time, metering out their expectation on, I want the things now. Well, it's a lot like being a parent. Anyways, so this is a page that the sides are drawn with marker, but the centerpiece is drawn with pencil crayon. And so when I'm talking about putting down different colors and different values and playing with the planes and surface of a shape and trying to find those little movements and progressions with different tones, that's what I'm referring to. And then at the same time, this is also pencil crayon in this left-hand panel. And hey, Jane, you might recognize our prime minister. He's a tiger. So with drawing like this, it's you put down a value and then you just let that value sit and then work with a contradictory color or contradictory value like the green, and just find some sort of principal tone to draw out your image with, and then have a contrasting little tone in there like the green to the white. So I tend to like to work with pencil crayons in different ways, but what we're doing now tends to be towards this example here of Lord Reginald and his lads. So if you've ever worked in a music store, or you've ever worked in any kind of bookstore or record store or place that sells things that people are searching, like stamps or anything that people are actively collectors of, there tends to be a component of obsession in that, and sometimes those obsessions decry realistic expectation, and so sometimes you have to say, all right, slow your roll, Pocono. Dark. As with anything else, right? It's like when you kid, I want this. No. Oh, how come? Why is this late? I wanted it. Yeah. Where's the new Bon Jovi record? So, same pattern as before. I just switched colors. I do that. I don't know why. A lot of drawing for me is intuitive and is about bringing things up as I go along and putting in values and putting in tones. That I can't quite explain at the time. They just feel right. It's a good friend of mine is colorblind, and he tends to only use ochre when he works, and he builds everything up according to the grayscale because he can only see ochre in as a gray. And so with that in mind, he can't quite explain why that works for him, but he'll paint that way. But then he'll do things at the end of it where he'll take a blue, like a cyan blue, or a sort of aquamarine or a teal. Like he just takes these blue tones and he washes them over top of the paintings. And when he does that, the value system changes of the thing, but he can see that more readily now. And he can see the different marks that he's been making in a more clear sense. And so there's no rhyme or reason about how some of the things that we do, and we just find ways and means that work for us that might not make any sense for the person beside us. But whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to find your ways of mark making that somebody else might tell you it's wrong, or somebody else might tell you is completely counterintuitive. And that's tough. I mean, they'll get over it, though. This is using a sort of structure of a T-Rex skull in order to do a dragon head, and because it lets me let go of what my expectation is for the image. I'll only use my source drawing so much that I get the basic composition of it down, and then it just sits over there to the side, and eventually it turns off, and then I realize, oh, it's off. When's the last time? It's just, yeah, okay, good enough, and I'll just keep going. When we turn it back on, I'm like, I got it. Because I believe that even if we're drawing from source material of some kind, it's important that we go into that imagination scape and make those choices ourselves from both our basis of knowledge about how structure works and how shape and form plays together. But if you try to replicate your source imagery, you're going to pull that joy out of yourself as you're working. And that's no fun, so, and you can see it. I think that the viewer could readily see that in the execution. So allow yourself to utilize it as you need to, though. That's just the way I approach it. That's not the hard, fast rule. I never, anything that I might say, well, jibber jabbering here and making the pictures. This is trial and error for me. And the way that I work is not the way that you work, because this is my own weird headspace and peccadillo. You're going to find things that work far better than what I'm doing. And I would sooner see you stick to that. All right, I'm going to hold this up. So this is just a regular piece of cardstock. It's a Bristol paper. I buy it in these 11 by 17 blank sheets, but I'll mark a couple out with headers at the top for my name, what book it's for, the issue number, the page number, and I've got this scaling marks on the side so that I can break the page down into ninths. So while I'm drawing, and I've got this start here, I know that there's these line structures, this pre-existing amounts of space that I could try to define my drawing into while I'm going. So this page, when I do Friday pages, I try to do something a little bit more of a push on a Friday page. I won't get the page done before the end of the live stream here, and I tend to go an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, because then I have to go check my blood sugar, etc., etc. And but I'll post this on Monday on the Instagram, like I post, or I'll post it on the weekend if it's done for then. But definitely for Monday, just to keep that consistency of people waiting for those weekday assessments of where we've been going. It's a T-Rex skull that I used. Rawls asked, oh, there you go, Jane. Yeah, that's exactly it. Your gut tells you. That's what the difference is between us and AI. As much as everybody likes to say, okay, the difference between us and AI is there's something telling us to do something in our gut, and not just prompts and commands or predetermined rules that we have to work from. That's what AI is working with. What we're working from is these weird left turns, these zigs instead of zags. And those zigs instead of zags, if you listen to them enough, that's what makes you different than them and them. That's the stuff that allows us to define ourselves more clearly for what we do and whatever stylist approaches that we take. Is it a T-Rex or a Komodo? It's a T-Rex skull, and I'm putting lots of fat layers of skin on it. But I've drawn dragons before. I did a page this month. I'll show you. This is the last dragon I did. It's this one. So I've got this underlying idea already in my noggin for the shapes of a dragon. But that's a blue dragon. This one's a different colored dragon. I don't know. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Ro. And reset. You're gonna Upload more Super Bowl drawings and Rihanna fan art. Nice. Nice. Do you ever draw her under an umbrella? Ella? Hey. Sorry, that's the only song I know. Anyways. Old and lame, that's me. Who else in this thread starts with the left eye? Actually, the subject's right eye when drawing a face. Do you specifically do the left eye like that? Their right eye? Is that always a direction? What do you do if they're turned the other way? But is it that so much the that eye or that side of the face, that part of the structure? Because that's incredibly curious to me. I like that. Jane says, I try to get into general shapes first before you get into detail. And when you say general shapes, are you talking about underlying structure? Are you coming up? What are you doing? Tomorrow, Raul is going to draw all of Rihanna's 14 #1 hits in kawaii style, if I'm saying that correctly. She's the third artist with the most #1s after the Beatles and Mariah Carey. Ooh. I may well have heard more of Rihanna. I know that she does a song that my wife likes by Coldplay. But I couldn't tell you, because but I can sing some. What band was Mariah Carey and Corbin? Not Mariah Carey. What band was Beyonce in? Yeah, I used to learn all those songs because my daughter would turn her music up loud, and so the way I got her to turn it down was by standing outside of her bedroom door and singing it at the top of my lungs. I try to start with the left canine tooth. The proportions between nose, mouth, and eye that make a person recognizable. Those are the general shapes. Nice. I'm gonna try to take a look at everybody's pages that after this. So please let me know. And anybody that you're meeting on here that you might not know, please check out what they're doing. Some of our people that are joining us from Dee Dee's program, take a look at Jim's work and Gary's work if you haven't seen it. Gary Hodges and Philip Chandler is here as well. He's putting together an anthology with some fellas right now, and that's exciting. I think that certain things that really define a face, not just the structural parts of a face, in the anatomy itself, the spacing between, because there's uniform rules in spacing, side of the mouth, center of the eye, right? What's this? If it's a straight on, you usually start with the left side. I turn the light on in the nose. Nice. Oh, thank you, Raul. Beyonce was in Destiny's Child. And now she hangs out with all the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies. Anyways, now she hangs out and does Diane Fossey dances. Bob Fosse dances, I'm sorry. Check my IG and YT channels in the same name. I will indeed. Song Hymn for the Weekend by Beyonce and Coldplay is amazing. Nice. There's a singer right now who has been singing with Damon Albarn from Blur and his band, the Gorillaz. She's Afrikaan, and I pulled down her entire album because I was so taken by her singing that I'm going to look her up for you because she's a grace. I highly recommend everybody listen to this song because there's something about. I had a lot of albums on my phone, clearly. I think it's on the now. Maybe not. Lesser Beach. Get off me, Corbin. No. Song machine. Désolé. It's Fatoumata Diawara. If anybody has a moment, look up this. It's Désolé by Fatoumata Diawara. And what a voice. She is her. I've got a copy of her album, and man, oh man, oh man. Jim says, my earlier comment was all jacked up because of Siri. What was your earlier comment, brother? Well, let's try it again. Yeah, see if you can get it to correct it. Well, let's just stick it back up again. I did a page recently with this approach. My father-in-law asked me to do a drawing, a one-page comic based on that balloon. He's a 86-year-old Dutchman. Do the balloon, the Chinese spy balloon. Yeah, so I did a page of that. It's a couple of days ago. It's called My Beautiful, My Beautiful. And part of there's two running narratives in that page, but I've drawn that page in the same style that I'm doing right now. But one narrative in that page is just reportage on the events of this balloon that flew over America that was from China, and speculation on whether or not they're spying. On Jim Bob barbecuing in his backyard, or military installations. Yeesh. It flew over Canada too, Just saying. Sure, it was up there over Saskatchewan, but we got business going on there. You made your grandfather sound like the old dude and Up. Yeah, that's about right. No, my father-in-law is 86. We just watched. Hey, take a look at that balloon, eh? Geez, where do you think it's going? Oh, I don't know. So, anyways, cold enough for you? Yeah, that's a Canadian conversation. So he asked me to do that. So I did a page on that, but there's two running narratives in it. One is reportage of the events as they're transpiring, but the other one is song lyrics from Up and Away by Sammy Davis Jr. because I'm ridiculous. Oh, you are. There you are. Does anybody else do this? I'll limit my palette. It's a random palette, but I'll limit it while I'm working with it. When I'm building things up, I'll come in after with some other values, but for the most part, there's no need for me to overcomplicate everything as I'm going. Like this is an orange, a dark green, a red, a purple, a emerald green, I guess, and a brown. Are the values that I'm working with right now. And Miracle White. Yeah, Miracle White. We're going to paint a secret mountain up here in the corner. I like how I really respect my father-in-law. And I think he's a really great guy. And so when he says, you should do this comic, I'm going to do it. It jumps the queue. It takes precedent over everybody else's pages. Sorry, everybody. But draw the balloon. Gives me a lot of play. Well, thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. It's not that much of a variety, though, is what I'm saying. it's a spread of 6 values, but it's what the combinations of those values give us, because we're going to pull out all kinds of things. You're going to see yellow in there now. You're going to see the sort of root values of things. You'll get different kinds of blues out of it that you don't really necessarily recognize that's happening. And for me, that's a lot of fun. And then once I get enough of this built up, and I'm putting in some of these little extra bits, like the scaling, I'll come in with a white or a cream color, and I'll put some hits inside of those scales to make that light value of the scale jump up a little bit more. It's the Hoffman aesthetic. Is anybody familiar with Hans Hoffman? Painting instructor in Long Island in the 60s, 70s. He taught, actually, here's a funny story. He's the godfather of Robert De Niro Jr. His father, Robert De Niro Sr., and his mother were in his first year class of painting. And a lot of American expressionists, a lot of the American pop school came out of his classes in Long Island. But some of his first year students in the really early 60s were Robert De Niro's mom and dad. It's funny, you don't really think that Robert De Niro's parents were artists, but here you go. So I'm changing up what I'm putting the scales in with. I'm just changing up these colors as I go around, just to try to capture a hold of, and then going over some of the other values as well, just to try to capture a hold of the movement of light and color in the surface as it bends around there. So, and I have no definable rule about this color goes over that color. Again, I don't make you thinking that much. So. But it's starting to come together. I'm starting to get some of those bits in the face now. I think I'm starting to pull in some of the marks that I want in there. So red is something I really haven't done too much with right now, because red is a really strong and can be a really overpowering value. So it's one of those things where you put it in there says something. So you can see as the red hits come in, that whole form of that cheek might change. I only found out about Posca yesterday, Jane. Highlights with Posca. I have been using Shake, and this is from a Walmart. It's called Simplify. If you've got art supplies called Simplify or Studio or Art Marker, yeah, those are cheap tools. This is Shake brand logo. I don't know, Shake. Maybe it's a command. I don't know. But this is the only acrylic paint marker I found that has a point, like a literal point on the tip. Everything else is that bludgeon round tip. But I'm going to invest in some Posca because I hear good things. I hear good things about that. So the idea is the transitional change from it being a T-Rex into it being a dragon is going to be horns and the wings, right? So as I've got this definition around the eye socket here, I'm also going to play with, so if we look at some structural form will come in here as the skin is growing around the base of a horn. This allows me a place to put that horn in. What 7mm tip, both black and white. Posca pens. Nice. I'm gonna have to check this out for sure. Some people just sketch with basic grays and browns. Oh no, yeah, unless you're doing a piece that's gray and brown. Why? You've got the opportunity to work with so much more. Why not do it? So in the structure of the head here, I'm remembering the placement of where on this side the folds of skin would be lapping around the bone growths that are coming out of the top of the head. They're protuberances. And I'm thinking about where they would engage on the opposite side. And then I think about, just because this is, I try to keep a catalog going on in this old noggin. I was just at a goat farm that my wife's cousin has, and I was looking at the horns of those fellas, and I saw some interesting things, and this sort of plating that their horns build up as. And so there's a fun texture in that I want to try to get across here. So normally where I don't constrain myself when I'm working mixed media or whatever it is that I'm doing by the panel, I am going to follow it this time for the page. So well, I haven't talked to Dee Dee yet today, but I hope she doesn't think my page that I did yesterday is too cheeky. Put an angle on the bone there. If you can do something like this, a little turn of direction just before, just so that you're not just coming in at a straight angle into another line, or it gives it just a little more redirective energy. The idea of any comic book page is that we start here on this at this corner, we move our dialogue here, and depending on how many tiers you have of that page, you want this flowing zigzag movement around your page. And so because of that, I'll try to do little nuanced things like a turn just at the top of a panel, just because that makes the eye subconsciously move with the page. So it's the fun stuff. That's the fun stuff, yeah. Okay. What time are we at? 1 hour and 18. So this is a continuation of these earlier values here, put down in the lower part of the face. I'm just carrying that same shape up farther, but I just switched the tone for it, just to push light and to push shape around the head. It doesn't. If you can do that, if you can switch from A to B in the course of an action over the head, in the course of that shape, it can give you some fun things to work with. See, this is where I'm going to put some little white bits, give a little bit of soul to that space and the shape and the face. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a dog or a cat's nose when I'm drawing the nose on this. I don't know if you can see in the corner. This is my source image there. This is where I had the picture of the T-Rex skull, and it's been off for a while now. Just let it go after a while. And then whatever shape we're looking at, whatever it is, whether it's a fantastical thing like this, or if it's a real animal, I always try to think about, well, where's this shape go on this side of the face? Where does the shape go on that side of the face? It sort of speaks, Jim, to the idea of when you're looking at when you're executing your drawing on a character, and you're looking at this, that's a plane of the face, one direct side of the face. And when you study that structure, that side of the face, and you know where those different contouring planes are, you just carry that over on the other side. So you can have the head turned like this, but when you're doing it at a 3/4 angle, and so you see a little bit of this side of the face, you know the structure of this cheek is the same as the structure of this cheek. You just got to think about how it goes around the contour. If anybody's had a chance, take a look at Jim Luan's character work that he does when he draws the characters that he puts in his animations, and please watch his animations. They're fantastic. He's a real knack for individual characters, and everybody has this sort of authenticity to themselves. And at the end of the day, you know, there's a truth in that. If we can get that truth of a character's persona to come out of them, one of the things I like doing about that I like about doing short one-page comics is it's a really brief amount of time in order to do a character examination of somebody, whether that's a character in the page or it's this guy, a character examination of myself that I'm expositing an idea through those characters in their dialogue or in a narrative voice. That separation sometimes allows us to get ideas across the world. And one of the reasons that people write stories, tell stories visually, textually, is because it's communication. It's another form of communication for us with other people. So there's absolute validity in expressing some of those ideas and using this alternative means. I held off on that for some time in the early days of writing and drawing. And I think that since I started doing that, since I started putting more of my own voice in what I'm doing, there's something that's happening, a better sense of clarity in my storytelling, because I'm not trying to half expose an idea. Do I really want to tell people? People are gonna think I'm crazy. Too late. I'll tell you this much. I wouldn't want to meet one of these kids in an alleyway. Huh? Hey, mister. He'd probably ask you, you got anything to smoke? I don't know. That's the other thing that I think I don't like when people do, is when you put the scale through the whole surface of a scale creature. Like if you just sit down with your black pencil, pen, marker, whatever, and just, I'm going to put the scale pattern on a thing. That's not how that works, I don't think. I think that scales is, when you see the surface of scales, they're always changing in value and color and shape with the contour of of the animal, the object that they're on. Your purse. Let's be honest. A lot of scaly purses out there. That's how they grow. I always thought an artist had to have a point. I always thought an artist had to have a point of view or a reason to create the work in the first place. I just like to do. Do I need to have something to say? No. I don't. I think you need to have something to say. But from the headspace of some of the things that I do, oftentimes I'll put a different narrative in an underlying narrative in something that is specifically speaking to something that I'm processing, whether it's processing a personal thing or just looking at the idea of just trying to define a character, and unwittingly, we say something about a perspective that we'll have on something. The page I showed a few minutes ago, here be a dragon, right? You know, like in posters, here be dragons. She's an embodied ancient magic. In the past, she was subdued by the sorceries of an immortal. That's him in the panel. For time, she served him, but this will not last. One cannot control a dragon for long. So that's a dialogue about this fantastical character in a fantastical context. But to the reader, they'll look at that and they'll reflect on that character, and they will impose somebody that they know that she's like a dragon. You can't. She's got this guy right now. He seems a little controlling, you know, or he's, you know, not letting her do okay. Or he's got a guy right now, and he's got a girl. Whatever it is, whatever the person is, and whatever the relationship is, they'll know somebody who's a dragon, and they know it's not going to last. They're only going to put up with this for so long before the relationship's over. And whether or not, I have no control over how we associate characters and how the reader associates story. I have no control over that, because no matter what happens, whatever we're reading it from our own personal experience, and we're associating whatever it is that we're reading from our own sense of how things work and how things have worked for us. And that's how we read. That's why we enjoyed this over that, is because this speaks more clearly to our sense of self. You know, and as a writer, you might not consciously realize you're doing it, right? You might not consciously realize that where you're talking about this dragon character in your story, what you're actually talking about is people that you might know that get into situations that are less than favorable, and get into relationships that aren't beneficial to them and they need to be free of. And now, to my knowledge, this page has no context of anybody that I actually know, that I can think of immediately. But at the same time, it may be a subconscious thing of assessing something I saw in the past, or something I myself felt in the past. So as writers, we don't always recognize some of the things that we're doing as we're doing them. And when we're defining character, our voice, even if it's our subconscious voice, comes through in the writing. This is me, Jane. This is what I do. I go off into the deep end of the pool a lot. And because from a storyteller perspective, as a writer, there's a lot of turmoil up in here about process and character and story, and what are we having to, what am I trying to say with this, and what am I just saying in that? And this, is everyone else asleep? I think a lot of people tend to, I have one person that has said to me, Paul, called him out, that my voice is, what is that called, Paul? I think Jim said it one time, ASMSR or whatever that is. It's the baritone. I could sit here and talk about potato salad for all, Yeah, so here's some of the values that are starting to come through now. and ASMR. There you go, Jane. we don't encourage them. Does that mean you got nothing on your pizza? Yeah, just bake the crust. It's completely in flagrante delicto. A page I had a lot of fun with lately was my two oldest grandkids were over 2 weekends ago. They're over every weekend, but they sat in a studio with me to do a one-page comic because it was a Friday and I was suddenly finding myself doing activities with some of the kids because it's a PA day, and Dad's home, Grandpa's home, so we were doing a one-page comic that turned out to be 6 pages long and it's in the stream, or it's there's videos in the stream, and there's they're on Instagram and Facebook, but the free-form creativity that comes out of children is so unfiltered and just such a joy. I think that it's something to be able to be afforded that in the engagements that we might have at, teaching situations or opportunities come up with that, or it's, youth in general, not just kids that are in their Jay's going to be 10, Lily's going to be 12. Man, they have me on my toes. So this is it's a brown, it's like an umber value that I'm using right now. But those are the 4 colors that I've been using. If you want to try to find those in your box of tools. And thank you very much, Ron. Salty. Be careful. That's a hot pizza. You don't want to drop it anywhere when you go to take a bite. Oh my guacamole. All right, I'm going to do something fun for a moment. Yeah, okay. So it's just checking. This is a white Jelly Roll pen. It's an 08. You can get them in 05, 08, 010, or I'm sorry, 05, 08, and 10. I tend to find that the 05s are next to pointless unless you're just drawing specifically in a fine line on a dark cardstock. And it has to be relatively smooth surface for it to actually hold some sort of degree of solidity in its value, some opacity. All right, so if I take this and let's see if this, I don't know if it's going to work or if I'm going to have to step to, there we go. So I don't know if you can see this. So right here under the eye is where I've put I filled in one of the scales. And so as I walk through with this underlying values, and I fill in some of these scales, it makes, because I'll have this color on top of this color, when I drop the white on it, it changes that scale specifically. And some of the places that I haven't put scales in, I could fill in some of these same little spaces. And the color, of course, now is popping up as as though it's around the white. It's the Hoffman push and pull of color, right? This light color is going to pull up towards us. This deep color is going to push away from us. This lighter color and this larger volume is equal to this darker color and this smaller volume. It's the push and pull in composition. Hans Hoffman, really interesting ideas. But a man painted his house in oil paints by the tube. And when I say painted his house, yep. Art is generally crazy since time began. I had a fun new story idea with my wife. We were doing some running errands today, and I have this hypothesis that because of the differences in that women generally have an intuitive thinking. Let's go for a nice walk around the park. Well, where are we going? Well, around the park. Are we going to do something at the park? Right? That's the difference in man brain, woman brain. And but I was, it just immediately popped this notion in my head that there's a great deal of underrepresented heroines in prehistory that may well have, in that intuitive sense, come up with a great deal of advancements in society, like, coming up with some sort of surface for us to eat our foodstuffs on, rather than off the cave floor, grog, right? And completely underrespected, undervalued. It was more than likely not a man that came up with, hey, let's try to plant some of these seeds so that we can harvest them. I'm pretty sure that in prehistory that was a female hunter nomad rather than a male. Just because that's the sort of logic leap in thinking that men tend to be more linear minded, and it's only when we're doing things like crafting or the like that we break away from that. So I thought I might do a comic on that at some point in time. But yeah, they're totally all going to be cave people. The whole thing would be about caveman ideas, cavewoman ideas. What are we saying? Color is light. Yes, indeedly do. And how colors react to each other by side, indeed. What is this? Men need a purpose. Women want the experience. Behind every great man is a woman whispering in his ear. No, I truly believe it was more than likely Grog comes back and throws a squirrel on the floor. I have found a squirrel. And his partner has to figure out, oh, okay, great. Thanks, Grog. Let's see what we can do with this, since our tribe keeps getting bigger. All right, so I'm doing underneath the chin. What are we at? 138. Go for 20 more minutes. So this is defining some of the bit of our fleshy business underneath our chins. And I'm going to push out the shape of the jaw at this point right here as well. No, see, it's more than that, Jane. Jane, like, cook it yourself. No, I think he's like, and he brings it in, he throws it on the fire. No, it smells terrible, and then what do we eat? We got to pick the hair out of our teeth as we're eating. No. Let me try to do something with this. I really think that there's something to be said for that. Have we gotten better? I keep telling my wife I want an apron for me to wear that while I'm cooking in the kitchen. Everybody else gets an apron. Then I have joined the kitchen tribe. I'll tell you something. This guy's got terrible skin, and he could use a bit of moisturizer. Jane, calling her hubby. If the clothes aren't falling off your back as threadbare, you should be able to get by. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I have these really comfortable socks, really thick socks, like slipper socks type thing, that I wear around the house, keep my feet warm. So I, got a circulation challenges when you're type 1 diabetic. So there's a hole in the heel of my sock, and I turned it over so the hole is on top. I use this part of the bottom first. I'll get through the day like this because I like this sock and I don't want to take it off. That's literally what I did, right? Yeah, there you go, Jane. They're still good, honey. No, I just didn't want to change I got rid of that sock since, but I just didn't want to change it that day. Just flip it over. Yeah, it's perfect now. Yeah, look at that. I fixed it. I have made it work go. I've made it go faster, better. All right, so there we go. It's coming together. Kind of makes me think of a sketches. So when I'm drawing it from the reason that I'm getting so in depth in the first panel is that so now whenever I draw this character from a farther back shot, I don't have to do all this detail now because you know it's there because you saw it in that first panel. It's called the sneaky lazy. Hey, buddy, you taking the cat?
Yeah. Also, do you want the lasagna in the oven?
Huh?
You want the lasagna in the oven?
Is that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Mom left it.
Oh, I see. Thank you, buddy. That was my youngest. Let's see. I've only got one left at home. And he cooks lasagna for me. Spoiled. See what I mean by that red can be really overpowering? I'm gonna have to I'm going over it with a dark green to just mute it out. If there's any questions about any of this stuff along the way here, feel free to ask them. If anybody has a one-page comic idea they want to see, let me know. Put it in either the chat, is that what it's called, the chat? Or put it in the comments of the video after, or whatever. DM me, I don't care. Just, yeah. Don't hold back. Don't be, oh, I don't know. It just can't be a licensed corporate thing. I'm not going to draw. I've done pages lately of Chuck Norris and John Malkovich. I don't mind doing people, but I'm not corporate licensed characters are potentially litigious. So never trust the corporations. They have a fun time suing people. Hey, there we go, Salt. Finish your large pizza. Now to go out in the back, hose off, and put on some pants. It's kind of, it reminds me of a Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. but it's coming together. It's kind of like doing stained glass when it comes to putting together the surface of the bits are optional here. Nice. It's kind of like stained glass looking at the surface of a reptile creature or a dinosaur creature. Which I know, not reptile. I know. Somewhere chickens. So there'll be the neck as it comes in, and we'll fold that up a little bit and give it a little more shape and form as it moves through. It's and then of course right here in the same image is where I'll draw the secondary character as they sit at a rooftop overlooking. Yeah, come on up. Okay, and then that way establishes the two of them in their existential conversation that they're going to have. I'm going to have to rethink some of the things in my life. If you can do that, if you're at the start of a piece that you're doing that involves two characters in their engagements, if you get a really nicely defined image first and foremost, then you can have far more variation in the placement of those characters in the context. The contextual images can change in scale dramatically. You could do silhouette shots from a distance in a doorway. You can do overhead viewpoints. Just the whole idea is to get a rooted idea of what these guys are and look like. And in this context, it's a dragon. But also another thing that I try to do, I don't do just a solid line through a shape. So when I'm drawing a mouth, I'm not going to draw the entirety of the mouth. We'll come in from the sides. We'll come in from the purse and the purse space in the center of that mouth. It's kind of think of it in the sense of a brush stroke. You've got your fat pressure stroke, and I'm talking about a pointed brush, and then you've got your thin line pull away in your stroke or come down, right? And so I tend to look at any line across a form like a mouth, a fold in skin, an eye, in that context. So, yeah. So there's fun things happening now with the green over the orange, and yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with that. All right. So, ouch. Yeah. My initial idea of putting text at the top of the screen is that whenever we're talking about an idea or an approach to something, I was going to put notes, point by point notes up at the top. Like that's why it says talking points. I think that largely, as I'm doing these one-pagers, the talking point's specifically going to be what the topic of the one-page comic has been suggested as in this place. In this case, it's Dragon rethinking his life choices. And just before I sign off and stuff for today, I'm going to let you in on a secret about how I'm going to approach the next part of this page and the structural story of the page. Is it's going to be sideways, right? It's always sideways with me. That the thing that whatever it is that we're doing and whatever it is that we're executing, even if it's just drawing for drawing's sake, we put our spin, we put our angle, we put our vibe on it. And that's what makes that piece ours. And so this one is the spin or the angle of this is that I'm going to have the dragon imagine all the things he could have been. And those things are going to be generally things that he couldn't have been, right? It's that evaluation of the delusional dreaming that we all do. You know, I could have been a lawyer. Could you? Do you have anything to do with anything with the law or any knowledge of it or any interest in it? No, but I like watching Law and Order. Okay. So I'm going to do that with this page. So he could have been the tooth. I could have been the tooth fairy. I got wings. There you go, Jane. Right, Corbin? Yeah, I could have been a tooth fairy. You know those guys that for weddings and stuff, the ice sculptors. I love that. I could have done that. You know, big fire-breathing dragon. Sure, you could have. It's those sort of things that those turns of an idea that are fun, and they once you start into your piece and you're thinking about the topic of the piece, all those ideas and all those thoughts will come forward, you know, and at least that's how this old noggin works. And those are the things that make me have fun and turn drawing sideways, like the typo that changed the course of history is. It's just in case you haven't seen it yet, it's it could have run a smoked barbecue hut. That's great. Typo is instead of saying watch out for their bombs, it says watch out for the bums. You know, because I'm quality like that. Yeah. So this is a fun one to do. I've got an idea for an overhead shot where you're going to see that the physical form, the physical body itself is going to be similar to how my cat sits in front of me when I'm trying to watch television. And just if you have a cat that sits in front of you, they're not facing you. So I could, you know, use that as an idea for how to change the source or change the angle. But yeah. This is what I mean by I don't do full, like I won't draw the full line because our eyes break up color, right? So when I'm drawing the edge of the face here, I'm putting in those hits of value along that line, but not the entirety of the line as a contour, because our eyes don't work that way. And if you notice that if you ever do that, it doesn't look right. Or in the course of doing that, you've actually pushed that off of the plane that the rest of your image might be on. You know, you've brought it forward in a really artificial way that doesn't in any way that look organic or natural. But sometimes that works. Sometimes that's important to do. So it's very much a trick of two-dimensional storytelling. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up. So, right? Yeah, just because I've got stuff I got to get done. But this is for people that have joined today. This is what I do Monday through Friday. Is that I come on every afternoon at 2:00 and we go through an idea and we roll out on that page with said idea. It's a lot of fun. I use different medium all the time and different approaches all the time to how I'm working. I tend to be pretty wildly open to ideas that people have, but if anybody has hold on, I'm going back up to it. Oh wow, we've had lots of engagement today, gang. Thanks so much for that. Chris lacks the jibber jabber. All right, if you have a one-page comic idea that you could put in 1 or 2 sentences, stick it, you know, in the chat here if there's a couple of minutes left, or put it in the comments or in on on Instagram or Facebook or on the YouTube channel here, please feel free to do so. I'm open to all kinds of crazy ideas and normal ones too. Sometimes those normal ideas of life, just living in existence itself, we can find interesting turns to those in character studies. And so I'm keen. Any notion somebody's got, for the most part, just no licensed, Mickey Mouse. No Mickey Mouse. Just because I'm going to publish these later on. I don't have to go, and I don't want to have to go through getting permission from the Mickey Mouse owners. So, yeah, because if you run it through a publisher, they make you do that stuff. Happy to have been here. Glad for the chat. Hey, thanks so much. It was really enjoyable to have you here, Jane, and everybody else. But yeah, take that in consideration with the idea of, I will think on that. Oh, yeah, you're already doing it. Take that in consideration, the idea of the one-page ideas or anything else. We're trying to figure out a way from all the advice and encouragement that I got yesterday to take a lot of these mixed things and put them in some reels, put them into some YouTube shorts so that people see all the random pile of quick little sketches and small images that I'm doing all the time on cardstocks or whatever random things I'm doing at whatever random moment, so that I don't know if people want to do an auction or something. I don't know, but I have piles and piles of junk in the studio here that I draw and put over there. So we'll figure it out. In the interim, it's really important to me, and I hope it's enjoyable for you. But keep creating. There's somebody out there that's looking for your work. And somebody else is interested in the things that you have to say visually, textually, whatever your ideas might be. So yeah, don't ever for an instant think that there's no point to drawing, there's no point to creating, there's no point to your music or whatever else it is. Keep on creating. All right, thanks very much. Have a great weekend. I'll be posting pages each day this weekend, and I'll be back at 2 o'clock on Monday. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye for now.